All right, before I start, we're going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach Parash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all the elect Akim Wa Akwath, learning and teaching in truth and sincerity. This is going to be another video through the Spirit. All right, this channel popped up, and it popped up with this video. It says called Unpack That. All right, and we're going to let this play. It says, how did Jesus become white? It says how Jesus became widely accepted as being white. All right, and this is a very controversial topic. Why? Because he was not. And we understand his name was not Jesus, but he was a Hebrew man. He was an Israelite whose true Hebrew name was Yahweh Shai. All right, and he was not a pale-skinned individual. He was a dark-skinned man. And if you've seen him today, you would attribute him as being a black man. When you look at the nation, all right, when you look at the Israelites, the way that they are described in the Bible in several places, if you are being honest with yourself and you're not being biased, and you're not being racist, you'll come to understand that he was a dark-skinned man and his people were dark-skinned people, all right, and they were scattered throughout the other nations, throughout several diasporas, you know, ultimately taking on the language and lifestyles and oftentimes the appearance of some of those other nations. But in our original form, the Israelites are a dark-skinned group of people. So this imagery that you see here is pure white supremacy. All right, and we're gonna let this play. And these people, they're not I'll say believing Israelites. These are regular people in the world, and even they have come to this conclusion. So what did he look like? You know, you scoffers, people like Vocab. Was he a white man? Will y'all ever announce the truth? All right, let's let it play. We'll get some scriptures.
When you think of what Jesus looks like, what do you see? Robe, crown of thorns, beard, Jesus's, maybe a halo? But what color is his skin? Today's baggage, white Jesus. It's no secret that Jesus Christ, known in Christian circles as the Son of God, is often depicted as a white man with long, luscious locks. But how did Jesus ever become so widely accepted as being white? Films, TV, even cartoons have been pushing this representation. And we can't forget when Megyn Kelly brought Jesus into her infamous Santa meltdown.
I mean, Jesus was a white man too, but you know, it's like...
Slow your roll. From what I can remember of my Sunday school days, the Bible stories take place in what is now called the Middle East. I chatted with Professor Carrie Day, an associate professor of constructed theology and African American religion at Princeton, to help me.
All right, so you know that lady that's about to talk, you know, she has her PhD. So this isn't just coming out of our mouths, us so-called uncivilized Hebrew Israelites. This is going to be coming out of the mouth of an educated woman. All right, she's up there at Princeton. But let me start with this. All right, this is nothing new. Why is it that the Messiah, why is it that he's being painted to be a white man? Why is that? All right here, Revelation 20. Let me see. I want to start with this. You know, of course you have the scripture in Job, but I want to start with this. Revelation 20:7. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, to the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. All right, dealing with 7 and the upper part of 8. There's a certain man on the planet Earth who has gone about deceiving everybody upon the planet. He's gone about lying, stealing, thieving, all right, taking from everyone and everything, and especially from the Israelites. Now you jump back to that Job, connect the dots. What group of people have been going around the entire earth doing this? Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Is not the Messiah one of the ultimate judges under God himself? So what has he been painted to look like? Bam. So put 2 and 2 together. Who is the wicked? Who is Satan that was loosed and has been deceiving the world? It's as simple as that. You know, you saw the pictures that she played, the little children's cartoon and all the imagery. That's deception. All right, so they play.
Let me figure out where I should begin. How was Jesus physically described in the Bible?
We really don't see any depiction, sort of phenotypically, of what Jesus.
And that's a lie, and we're about to see why. And that's she's trying to give the politically correct answer. We are described. We are given an imagery of how the Lord looks. We're given an imagery of how his people look and how his disciples looked as well.
Looks like in the biblical text, and that was intentional. I think that it's important to note that in the early Christian communities, there was actually an avoidance of putting images of Jesus in general.
That part is true. When you read in the law, the Lord told us not to make any graven images. So the apostles, that part is true. They weren't the ones going around setting stuff up of him because they were with the Lord. They knew what he looked like. But as time went by, men made images of the apostles and the Lord. And what should those proper images look like compared to what we see now?
Images of God were seen as idolatry.
But we do know that in the Bible, Jesus' feet are compared to burnished bronze.
However you fall on what Revelation means, we already have clues. The first clue is that he was a Jewish man.
And right there, however you fall, see how she skipped over it? That's that school training. She's going to spit a little bit of truth, but right there, she answered that question the way that they all like to answer it, by avoiding it. And that's not how you answer a question. So we'll go to that Revelation 1 and 13, because a description of him is clearly described. We have no description of him. He was clearly described. Revelation 1 and 13, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle. So he was wearing, it tells you, a garment all the way down. And he had a girdle about his paps, basically around his waist. All right. It says his head and his hairs were white like wool. Now, does this mean his face was white? No, this means his hairs were, and the hair on his face, his beard, eyebrows, etc. It says as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Did he literally have fire coming out of his eyes? No. When you read in Genesis 49, it tells you that. I'll just get that real quick. All right, the Bible speaks in metaphorical terms many a times. Genesis 49 and 12, his eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. All right, so the whites of his eyes were red here when you were seeing him in Revelation. This is what John was seeing. That's why his eyes were compared to a flame, because they're the whites of the eyes were red. Verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. All right, it said his feet were as if they were fine brass. What color would that produce? A brown. It didn't say shoes, it didn't say sandals, it said his feet. So clearly the skin of his feet were visible. What color is burned brass? Oh, I got this book. Hair like wool, feet like burned brass. Right there, but just look at burned brass. Just look at the color in and of itself. If somebody's feet looks like this, it's easy to determine that the rest of their body does. All right. So that knocks that out. So why is that guy here? That's the ultimate question.
Was that he was a Jewish man. They were nomadic people. Part of the misnomer is that a Jew is a Jew that phenotypically looks like a European Jew. And we tend to sort of ascribe that to the way Jesus looked and who Jesus was.
And that's the problem in today's world. When you think of the Israelites, because he was not he was technically a Jew, because you have the term, but he was a Israelite from the tribe of Judah. All right, more importantly. But when you read the description of the Israelites, when you read the description of some Jews, what do you get? All right, Acts, the 13th chapter. Acts 13. Let me see. Right here, 1. Yep. It says, Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. What does that word mean? Let's go look. This is that word Niger, G3526. Black. It's actually pronounced nigger. Niger.
Strong's G3526. Niger.
Yep, Niger.
Niger.
Niger. They were black. Alright. It says what? Niger. Black. Niger. A Christian. Bam. So the original Christians were what? Black. Quite literally. So we know that. Hey man, I could do this all day. But we'll jump down, right? Acts 11:26. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So right there, the original Christians were what? Niger, meaning what? Black. And so was the Lord. This is a description of the Israelites. You go to what? Lamentations 5:10. It says, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. This is a description of the Israelites. Lamentations 4:8. Their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It has become like a stick. That is describing who once again? The Israelites. They keep being called black. Why is that? All right, and, you know, this isn't just a black banging thing. You have Northern Kingdom, Latinos and Native Americans. We understand that they're Israelites as well. All right, but we were variations of brown. All right, now through mixing with these heathen for so long, many of us look different ways. We've become the Israelite foreigners, but originally we were different shades of brown, and that it is what it is. And I'll get one more and then we'll return to the video. Songs of Solomon 1:5. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. So right there, Solomon said, look not upon me. He said, I'm black and lovely. All right, a synonym for comely. He said, I'm black and beautiful. And he said, look not upon me because I'm black. All right, because the sun hath looked upon me, which is where you get the phrase sunburnt, which is an insult that they'll throw at Negroes, further showing he was a dark-skinned man. So we continue.
But instead, what I'm suggesting is that you had all of these diverse diasporas, many of them that were Afro-Asiatic, that in many ways then helps us to reflect on Jesus.
Afro-Asiatic. We were dispersed in Afro-Asiatic, meaning what? In the continents, the patches of land joining Africa and Asia. Showing you he was a dark-skinned man.
In our contemporary language, as a person of color.
So,
Right there.
Jesus might not be
A person of color. So now let me jump, because I want to get 3:15. Okay. I want to get some of these. I had some
Person
time.
of color.
So let's fast forward.
so in a tough time. Coming up, he was
Whiteness of
Okay,
coming
this
up.
is,
He's also an associate professor of homiletics. In a tough time.
Right?
So
I'm grabbing outside sources. I'm not grabbing people who believe that they're Israelites who are going to have a bias. These are outside sources. These are people that don't have anything to do with us, for you scoffers.
Called on someone who was called on by the Lord. Gary V. Simpson is the head pastor of the Concord Baptist Church of Christ. He's also an associate professor of homiletics.
when you want to sound important. Instead of just saying, I'm the preaching professor, you say, I teach homiletics.
Simpson was the son of a preacher, but coming up, he was pretty clear on what he believed Jesus looked like.
I never really got caught up in the kind of dominant whiteness of Christ. I know that there were depictions of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus in places because those were the people who were publishing the materials that we were reading in our local Sunday schools.
And that's why we have a white Jesus, as he said, because those are the people publishing the literature and the pictures. So it goes to show you that this image is highly inaccurate. The only reason why that is there is because those people rule the planet Earth, and that pastor just made that connection himself. If not, where and who is he? Satan shall be loosed a little season to deceive the world. Who fits that description? The people that look like that right there. That is not what our Lord looks like, nor has it ever, nor will it ever.
Can you just elaborate a bit on that? How we sort of came to have this widely accepted depiction?
I don't know how widely accepted it is. I think it is Westernly accepted. When we read the Bible and the expansion of Christianity, we're actually talking about its Western movement.
Y'all know what he's talking about. That saying, to the victor goes the spoils.
Yep.
Let's
To
go.
the victor goes the spoils. And the so-called white man has gone around conquering and killing people on the planet Earth. So he's been enforcing his white Jesus right along with him. That's no mystery.
As the Roman Empire expanded, so did its ideologies and culture.
So let me fast forward now. You know, this ain't nothing new. But sometimes you got to get it from other angles to shut scoffers up.
Portraiture today, when irreducible image that told
Popular culture. Even though some countries have
image that told you the things you really needed to know about who he was and why he was important.
Despite the intention of early artists, this white Jesus stuck and was carried on by the popular culture. Even though some...
And this goes to show you this was a purposeful thing. To set up that white image, to have our people worshiping it. So then what do our people subconsciously do? They bow down to the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not. Whether you want to acknowledge that as the truth or not. And you know, I'm not getting super deep scriptures, the same ones I usually always go to, but the point has to be reinforced. Because you bring this topic up and many scoffers don't want to deal with it. People like Vocab, many assholes don't want to deal with it. Christians don't want to deal with it. Catholics don't want to deal with it. What does the Lord look like? That's very important, because what he looks like is the people he's coming to save. And they don't want to admit the truth. 1 Maccabees 3:48. And laid open the book of the law, where the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Alright, this is what the heathen do. They run up in our temples, they destroy our images, and they set up themselves in place, which is why you have that Negro holding that picture there.
Popular culture. Even though some countries have their own artistic...
And now look at this. This is where we get some more truthfully looking images of a dark-skinned Lord with a little fro and his mother.
versions of Jesus.
And that's Russia. And I've pulled those are what's the Russian icons. All right, so we're not you know, for you brothers, don't let these people dissuade you. When we pull up these pictures, you know, of things like the Russian icons, we're not making shit up. These are pictures that truly exist. I have a video saved in my files that I always go to, you know, of they said there used to be millions of these paintings. Now there's probably only about 50,000 because this devil destroyed so many of them. That's a dark-skinned Lord with two dark-skinned angels, it appears.
In the United States, this idea of a European-looking Jesus can have dangerous implications. Yep. Tabitha L. Jones-Jalvet, a professor of higher education and one of the authors of White Jesus, says that there has been a whitewashing process over time and that white Jesus is a function of white supremacy.
Yep.
White Jesus is so much more than an icon. It's not neutral. And it's not neutral because it has been proliferated and it's expanded in terms of its presence over centuries. And it has been largely tied to what we call an imperial project, the agenda of a nation, white supremacists and white supremacy.
This is a common portrayal of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. And on the other side is an image that's based off of a drawing by Dylan Roof, the man who...
So right there, y'all. Now here it is. That now, if you know about that Dylan Roof kid, he ran into a church full of black people and killed him. So this goes to show you that white Jesus perpetuates white supremacy, and everybody knows that. But when you talk about it openly, everyone wants to pretend otherwise. Well, we're not idiots, and we're not ashamed to stand up for the gospel. All right, hey, and here it is. You know, they want to say us Israelites are violent. Well, this was a violent little Christian. A violent white Christian. He wouldn't kill an entire building full of people. How about that? They use that image to perpetuate their supremacy. That's a fact. Right here, 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. What was that falling away? The Israelites losing their heritage, being dispersed. It says, "And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Who's that man of sin? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. How do we know so? Verse 4. "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." How do we see himself trying to present himself as God? Or how do we see this white man presenting himself as God? That right there. That's how we see it. You've been found out. You've been had. All right. That's not what the Lord looks like. Y'all, that's not what the chosen people look like. You devils are going down. It's just that simple.
Killed 9 worshipers at the mother
Of colonization, inner colonization here.
Jesus becomes for all of us a symbol. I won't matter as well as long as just holy Christian. I don't really know what Jesus.
We might never know what Jesus looked like.
Now I want to play what she's about to say right here. This is the honest to goodness truth. If you're being honest, you can admit, you can look at this and be honest about what she's about to say.
Clear is many have weaponized him as a tool of white supremacy, and commonly accepted images of him could be way off.
And it couldn't be more true. That white Jesus image is a weapon of Edomite supremacy, and it's way off. Plain and fucking simple. All right, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakurash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all the elect Akim Wa Akwath, learning, teaching, and truth and sincerity. I'm gonna say Shalom.